Hi friend, Jean here with a few thoughts to share with you before we jump into the episode. One of my favorite principles of holistic education is this. We offer children an experience before we provide the explanation. Instead of beginning with information, deeper learning begins with an experience. Drawing, building, singing, creating. When we engage our hands and hearts before our heads, understanding follows naturally. And that's true not only for our children, but for us too. That's exactly how we learn together at the Taproot Teacher Training for Homeschooling Parents. We don't just talk about the lively arts, we experience them together. At Taproot, you get to be the student for once. And that changes everything. If you're craving 4 days to reconnect with your creativity, deepen your homeschool practice, and learn alongside a wonderful community of holistic homeschooling parents, I'd love to invite you to join us August 6th through the 9th at a summer camp in Northeast Ohio for the 20th annual Taproot Teacher Training. You'll find all the details at artofhomeschooling.com/taproot. The Taproot team and I can't wait to welcome you in August. You're listening to the Art of Homeschooling podcast, where we help parents cultivate creativity and connection at home. I'm your host, Jean Miller, and here on this podcast, you'll find stories and inspiration to bring you the confidence you need to make homeschooling work for your family. Let's begin. What if the thing that's making your homeschool feel stressful isn't your curriculum or even your children? What if it's that your rhythm has quietly become a schedule? Today, I want to help you recognize the difference, because when we confuse rhythm with a schedule we have to control and follow, everyone ends up exhausted. Let's start with a few important distinctions. A schedule answers what time and for how long. A rhythm answers what activity comes next. What naturally follows this? How does this part of the day flow into the next? You might say something like, a rhythm is the flow of your day, whereas a schedule is the timing of your day. A schedule has certain activities with times assigned to them. Rhythm gives structure without rigidity. When talking about daily rhythm, it's helpful to think about anchor points, those moments in our day that happen most days, the regular activities we do almost every day, like breakfast, morning lesson, outside time, lunch, quiet time, dinner, bedtime. None of that requires looking at the clock. A certain type of activity simply follows another type of activity naturally. This is what rhythm really is. But here's what happens to most of us at one time or another when we're working with rhythm. What happens is rhythm quietly becomes a schedule. I see this happen all the time, and it tends to happen when we keep adding more and more and more things to the list. Here's what I see. Parents create a beautiful rhythm, then they keep adding to the list of activities until it starts to look something like this. Morning basket, circle time, morning main lesson, painting, recorder, handwork, nature walk, read aloud time, independent work, chores, baking, quiet time. And before long, every activity has a hidden timer attached to it. Instead of asking what's next, we're asking, are we behind? What else do we have to fit in today? How am I going to do it all? That's when rhythm turns into control. So right about now, you might be asking, well, what's the cost of too much control? And here it is, too many transitions. Every transition costs energy on our part and our children's part. And when we have all of these transitions and all of these activities we're trying to squeeze into a day, we become the director of the entire day. And children haven't finished processing one thing before they're rushed into another. Power struggles increase. As parents, we become timekeepers instead of leaders or learning partners. There's no margin, no breathing room, no time for imaginative play, lingering conversations, emotional regulation even, integration of the learning, or delight. And we end up leaving no room for learning to settle. That's why I so often talk about this phrase, or a mantra really, scale back until it works and then add from there. I want to encourage you to build slowly. Instead of trying to implement your ideal rhythm all at once, start with the rhythm you can actually keep. Maybe that's only morning connection, main lesson, lunch, and outside time. That's enough to start with. Let it become natural. Let it flow without so much effort. And then add another piece. And maybe just one more piece, one at a time. A rhythm should feel easier over time, not harder. You want the flow to have this natural sense to it. When my children were younger, I remember trying to fit in every beautiful Waldorf activity I had read about. I made these beautiful lists with so many different activities in every single day. And I thought a good homeschool day meant we actually got through the entire rhythm, quote unquote, that I had written down. But it didn't work. I always felt so much pressure to get to the next thing. I would get irritated when my children would take too long, and my kiddos were out of sorts because they sensed me always pushing them. Finally, I was able to realize that less actually produced more peace and less pressure. Now, as a homeschooling mentor, I see this happen all the time to parents I work with. They spend hours, days even, refining their rhythm, making it like moving one little thing here to Thursdays so they can squeeze in another thing on Tuesdays, and really spending so much time trying to perfect the rhythm. And then they feel deflated when it all falls apart. The reality is it's so much simpler and more effective to start with just maybe 3 to 5 daily activities and build your rhythm from there. And those activities can include meal times and bedtimes. I think sometimes we imagine that a peaceful homeschool comes from creating the perfect rhythm. But peace does not come from controlling every part of the day. That's never going to work. It comes from creating enough structure that everyone knows what comes next, what to expect next, while leaving enough space for real life to happen. Because rhythm is not about control. It's about flow. If you're ready to simplify your days, my Homeschool Rhythm Quick Start Guide will help you build a rhythm from the ground up without turning it into a rigid schedule. We have lots of examples in there and even give you a description of a few different homeschooling days and ask you to come up with a rhythm for that particular parent. You can go grab a copy for yourself at artofhomeschooling.com/startwithrhythm. And if your rhythm has drifted off course and needs a fresh start and you're listening to this in real time, I highly recommend Becca Lane's Rhythm Reboot from Storytime in the Schoolhouse. It's a free training for gently resetting your family's daily flow in a super simple yet realistic way. You can sign up at artofhomeschooling.com/rhythm reboot with Becca. And if you're listening to this later, you can also explore Storytime in the Schoolhouse that can help you, especially if you have younger children, help you create some anchor points in your day with stories and different learning activities. I have some other resources about rhythm also that I'll be sure to link in the show notes, which you can find at artofhomeschooling.com/episode 265. As we come to a close with this episode, I invite you to think about this. Nature has rhythms, not schedules. The sun rises every morning, but not at exactly the same minute every day. The seasons return in a dependable pattern, but each spring unfolds a little differently. That's the kind of steadiness we're aiming for in our homeschools. Not perfect predictability, but a trustworthy flow. Here's to embracing the idea that rhythm is about flow, not control. That's all for today, my friend. But here's what I want you to remember. Rather than perfection, let's focus on connection. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode of the Art of Homeschooling podcast.